In this series, I'm turning a 2006 Yamaha TW200, which came to me in pieces, into a retro cafe scrambler. I fixed up a lot of older bikes, but with this project, I wanted to get creative without breaking the bank. There's going to be some trial and error, but hopefully it will encourage you budget builders to go for it. Because if I can do it, you can too. Hey guys, it's Josh with Budget Mechanic. Welcome back to our motorcycle series. On this bike, the wheel and spokes were really rusty, corroded, dirty, and usually you don't paint motorcycle wheels because they get exposed to rocks and water and dirt and brake fluid, chemicals like that, and usually doesn't last. As well as when you put the tire on a rim, usually you mess up a paint job. So I'm going to show you how to paint this wheel with the tire already installed, and then how to clear coat it with a special paint that's going to make it really hard, resist chemicals, and any abuse that you give it out on the trail. So obviously I don't want grit from any of these processes to go down inside my bearings because I tested them out and they're actually in decent shape. So I'm just going to plug it up with a piece of shop rag, and I found some old washers lying around that fit just inside here. So next thing I'm going to do is give a light sandblasting to this wheel to give it some texture for the paint to stick to and reach any like little corners I couldn't get to with the wire wheel. If you don't have a sandblasting setup or don't even want to get involved in that, you can do this job with sandpaper, obviously. It's just going to take you a lot longer, and it's going to be really hard, near impossible, to get in the tight spots that I can do with a sandblaster. This is my sandblasting cabinet. I just built it out of scraps, super simple. Just a box with some plexiglass windows, some rubber sheeting with some holes in it for my hands, a little glass window. I bought a cheap sandblasting gun from Sears. Cost me about 30 bucks. Comes with just the gun and the hose. The sand I got online, 10-20 bucks. I really recommend you use proper sandblasting sand, not just sand that you dig up off the beach, because that'll have silica in it. It's really bad for you. I have a kind of a weak compressor setup, so I can only sandblast for like 2 or 3 minutes, or I have to wait for it to recharge. So it's not ideal, and that's why I try to prep my pieces as much as possible. So because I'm shooting the aluminum of the hub and stuff, I'm actually going to turn down my pressure so I don't gouge it up too much. I just want to put a little texture. So I'm going to go maybe 80. As you can see, obviously I didn't blast it down to bare metal everywhere. There's still some paint, there's still some even rust, but I've removed all of the loose flaky stuff with the wire wheel, and then I've put texture essentially with the sandblaster. I've roughened up all the surfaces so that paint will really stick well to it. Then I'm going to wipe it down with this grease wax remover and a rag. Just get any remaining residue off of this ready for paint. Now that we're ready to paint, we're going to deflate the tire, break the bead, and put a barrier between the rim and the tire so the paint doesn't get on the rubber. I'm just going to use my tire iron here. You could use a big screwdriver if you want. I just want to be careful not to mess up the rim too much. This Dremel manual, and it's filled with French and Spanish, which I don't know how to read. Shove those right in between. I'm using Krylon Rust Tough, the zinc primer, and this can actually be painted over rust and will protect it from coming through later on, because I do still have a couple rusty spokes that I couldn't fully clean up. But this will be a great primer with the zinc. I found it's a nice high build, so it fills in a lot of the blemishes. Then I'll put the black of the same brand and line. And then the secret to this whole process is this 2K clear, which essentially has an activator inside, and this will put a super hard resistant finish on everything and seal it up really well. Don't forget to put on your valve cap. now that I've let this wheel dry for a few days, and I'm sure that my Krylon paint is fully cured, I'm going to apply this clear coat. But before I do, I'm going to just rub it down with some 400 grit sandpaper just to give it a little bit of a rougher surface for the clear to stick to. Just get any last dust. This is by SprayMax. It's a 2K system, and what that means is we're going to shake it up, and then we're going to activate it with the activator by punching the bottom, which will mix the activator into the paint, and then we'll shake a little bit more and apply it. I'm going to do probably 2 or 3 coats. You have to wait 5 or 10 minutes in between coats. And when I'm doing this, make sure I'm using a really good mask with really good filters, because this stuff is super nasty. Just a tip, I found that it can be quite difficult when you're painting motorcycle wheels, because you're shooting through the spokes to get to the other side of the inside of the hub or whatever, and then your spokes right in front of the nozzle get too thick. And so sometimes I'll use a piece of paper or cardboard, and I'll try to block the spray from hitting the spokes that are right in front of the can and let it go through the wheel to the back side of the hub. So now, while the paint is still wet, I'm going to actually remove my masking papers and pull my plugs so that the paint doesn't dry around them. Alright, now that I've let the clear coat dry for 24 hours, I can go ahead and inflate this tube and seat my tire. Whoop. I'm pretty happy with it. It's a really durable finish. It's not going to chip or scratch easily. There's still some texture underneath because most stuff was rusted or pitted, but overall I'm really happy with the result. In fact, it makes my tire look bad. Now I'm going to have to go wash this thing. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. We are going to be doing several other videos on this series and this build, so make sure you subscribe to follow our progress.